At one point, Lufia was one of the most well-known RPG franchises in the world. But, well, it no longer is. And that's a real shame too, especially considering that fact has made some of its entries so overlooked now. No other Lufia game probably matches that description better than Lufia: The Ruins of Lore, which was released on the Game Boy Advance in May of 2003. It came out less than 2 years after the release of Lufia: The Legend Returns, which was pretty poorly received overall. Many fans hoped that this new Lufia game for the Game Boy Advance would be much more similar to Lufia 2: Rise of the Sinistrals than to its Game Boy Color counterpart. But was it? I'll let you know in this video. But before I get into all that, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel for more retro gaming content. Lufia: The Ruins of Lore takes place 20 years after the events of Lufia 2: Rise of the Sinistrals, so you'll notice some of the same locations and themes. After the defeat of the Sinistrals 20 years prior to the game, the world entered into a time of relative peace. However, all the tranquility was interrupted when the Kingdom of Graze allied with a mysterious man named Ragul. Their aim is to search the world for a missing part to revive a powerful monster known as the Beast that would allow them to conquer the world. You take control of Eldon, an orphan who trains with the sword and dreams of being an adventurer. His journey takes off when he travels with his best friend Torma to Parcelite so the two can become hunters. After accomplishing this, they find a girl robbed of her mysterious stone. After deciding to help her out and successfully retrieving it, Rubius joins the party, and you eventually find out she's searching for stones around the world to enter a fabled promised land. Now, I won't spoil her reasoning behind this, but Eldon gets wrapped up in her purpose, and there's a lot of surprises along the way. You can recruit several characters throughout your journey, including the infamous Dekar from Lufia 2. And I have to say, this was a definite highlight for me because he was my favorite character. One new character I liked a lot was Bao, who was a former hobbit that was transformed into a dog. And, well, that transformation gave him surprising battle powers as a result. Fans of the capsule monsters from Lufia 2 will be pleased to know that the system is back here too. Mostly at least. Here they're called disc monsters, and you actually have the ability to capture almost any roaming monster in the game. The disc monsters are linked to the party member who captures them, and receive a percentage of the experience points from your party. They can evolve into more powerful creatures once they level up enough and are fed specific foods, and there are almost 200 unique monsters. It's a fun system that allows for a lot of customization, but I decided to forego the monsters in favor of regular party members. When it comes down to it, battles in Lufia: The Ruins of Lore look and feel a lot like Lufia 2. Your characters appear at the bottom of the screen, and it's a straight up turn-based affair where you can select to use a regular attack, magic spell, or item. There are two fairly big differences though. The first is that, unlike in Lufia 2, where you can perform special IP attacks, in this one your full IP bar can be used to merge with a disc monster. When you do this, you can either become invincible for 3 turns or unleash a series of special attacks during this time frame. The second change is that you can freely swap between characters on the fly mid-battle, and that's a great feature that allows you to switch your approach on the fly. Puzzle solving is a focus in the dungeons, but unlike in Lufia 2, you don't collect tools. Instead, each character has their own unique ability, much like how this works in the Breath of Fire games. For instance, Torma can use a grappling hook to cross over chasms, Rami can use fire to melt blocks of ice, and Bao has a hammer to smash objects. You'll have to make use of all these abilities, as well as moving blocks, hitting switches, and all the other stuff you did in Lufia 2's dungeons. The biggest novelty of Lufia: The Ruins of Lore is probably the game's job system. There are 13 jobs in total in this one, 7 of which are available near the start of the game, but 4 are hidden throughout the world. Once a character takes on a job, they progress in job levels by gaining experience points and unlocking new abilities as you go along. Now the cool thing about this is once you obtain a new ability, you also have it permanently, so you can always switch to a new job and mix and match. It was a pretty fun system that reminded me a bit of Final Fantasy V, but there aren't nearly as many classes in this one. In the grand scheme of things, Lufia: The Ruins of Lore is a bit of a mixed bag for me. The characters are fun but not very well developed, but the overarching story wasn't too bad. Both the job system and the disc monster system were fun ways to truly make your own party distinct, but neither really defines the game. I also thought some of the dungeons were way too long and frustrating, and even though you can avoid enemies on the screen, there sure are a heck of a lot of them to deal with. Outside of those things though, this is a pretty fun game at its core. The animations in battle were pretty darn good for the GBA, as was the music. It's just too bad the sound quality for the Game Boy Advance wasn't great at all, because this soundtrack could have sounded a lot better on different hardware. The puzzles worked pretty well too, and those were pretty rewarding, and the whole combat experience was great. Lufia the Ruins of Lore isn't even in the same universe as Lufia 2, but it's still a pretty solid RPG on the Game Boy Advance. But what do you think? Do you have any good memories of Lufia the Ruins of Lore? And how do you think it compares to the other Lufia games? Let me know in a comment below. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell for more retro gaming content. And if you want early access to the videos I produce and other perks, please consider supporting the channel by becoming a Patreon patron or via the YouTube Join feature.